don't take advice from broke people. Oh my goodness. This is such an important thing for us to discuss today because have you ever heard the expression misery loves company? Well, this is where it can come flooding to the surface if you take advice from people who are broke and you become one of them. You become a broke person too. Or maybe you're taking advice from yourself right now. And unfortunately, you may find yourself in the category of broke people giving advice to broke people. So let's start with the story. First of all, I'm Tina Lorenz. I'm your copywriting mentor, mindset shifter, transformational business coach. I want to welcome you to today's video and that I'm doing live right this very moment. And now more than ever, we need to really get dialed in what we're going to listen to. What messages are we telling ourselves? And more than that, what messages are we getting from everyone around us? Because if we wait for the perfect time to begin a business, the perfect time to become a freelance copywriter, the perfect time to move forward with your business as an entrepreneur, you might be waiting for a very long time. Let's just take a look at the past couple of years. We've had so many things going on, right? We've had viruses, we've had war, we've had unrest, we've had political upheaval, we've had so many things, social injustice, so many things that if we said, well, we have to wait until fill in the blank, that perfect time where it's going to be okay to go ahead with your business, okay to move forward with what you're doing as an entrepreneur, you're going to be waiting a real long time because there is no perfect time. You have to give yourself the perfect time. So let me start by telling you a little story. We're going to roll back time here because the thing is, we should be learning from history. We should be learning from those that came before us because really, there's really nothing new under the sun. Things repeat, things come back to the surface again, cycles continue. And if we look back behind this, we'll see that this is very much the case. So we're going to dial it all the way back to the late 1800s to two businessmen, one from Ireland, one from England, who happened to meet two sisters who were Americans. They married the sisters and met each other in this way, and they decided to work together with what their businesses were. One of those gentlemen made candles. One of those gentlemen made soap. So they joined together to make candles and soap. So I've talked before about turbulation. Turbulation is when, as we're moving forward, we're starting to make a change. We're shifting how we think. We're shifting what we're doing. Things begin to happen. It's almost like a principle. It always happens, right? And the churn begins. And a lot of times, this is what separates the wheat from the chaff. People will stop. People will quit. People will leave because they experience the turbulence. But you should expect turbulence in your business, just like what happened to these two gentlemen. They experienced the turbulation. For them was the Civil War. Okay, pretty darn big event, right? I mean, think about it. Unrest in the United States, people against people, neighbor against neighbor, family against family, brothers and sons killing each other. I mean, it was really, really bad. Oppression, social injustice, all of the same kinds of ingredients happened during the Civil War. But what did these two men do? Did they say, well, that's it. We got to pack it in. We got to stop. We can't possibly market during these times. We can't possibly sell anything during these times. No, they didn't do that. They looked for the opportunity. They looked for the gap. They looked for a need that needed to be filled and how they could bring value. Keyword here, value. They got a contract with the government to supply the Union Army with candles and soap. And so not only were they just supplying a needed product during this time of unrest and turbulation, but to think of the value to be able to give light, to be able to take people out of the darkness, to be able to be clean, to be able to not live in the mud for years during the war, but to be able to actually wash and keep yourself clean at some level, the value that it brought for some hope, a ray of light. They joined together, they found the opportunity, they got a government contract, their business continued. Okay, we got through the Civil War. Now we're coasting on with a good business into the 30s. And guess what happened in the 1930s? Financial unrest so big, we put the words the and great in front of the word depression. And it lasted for 10 years. But these two individuals, did they quit? No. Did they go into the shadows? No. Did they let other people say, oh, you can't possibly do that. You better draw back. You better not advertise. You better not invest money in your own promotions anymore because look what's happening. No, they went full on. They decided to ramp up, double down, advertise harder, and they added an ingredient that is with us still today to how they promoted their candles and their soap. And do you know what it was? Entertainment. They began telling stories. They found another way to market their product. They found a pathway that tapped into our human need for story, which is historic and goes all the way back to the beginning of time with hieroglyphics on walls and stories told at campfires. And they began using stories to promote their product. And those stories were sequential. And those stories became a series, and they developed more than one batch of stories. And do you know what they're called now? Soap operas. Okay. These people created a whole new genre with their advertising. They increased their advertising through the Depression. Their business grew. They didn't wither and die and fall by the wayside because they believed in themselves, and that they did a very important element of creating wealth. They changed the unchangeable. What does that mean? Changing the unchangeable. They couldn't stop the Civil War. They couldn't stop the Spanish flu when that happened. They couldn't stop the Great Depression. They themselves could not stop that. That was unchangeable, but they changed the unchangeable by how they thought and believed about what was possible. And you know who those men are? They were Procter and Gamble. Procter & Gamble has grown to be a company that is worth somewhere in the range of $300 billion, has grown and thrived through all the hardship, has something like 500,000 employees. They were the first company to bring about profit sharing, so they were taking care of their own, and they never listened to the broke people who told them it wasn't possible. I think it's such an amazing story, and it's so pertinent right this minute, because every day I'm hearing other entrepreneurs say, well, someone said I've got a lot of nerve marketing my stuff. Someone said I've got a lot of nerve trying to sell something during these troubled times. Or it's, I can't find anyone. No one's going to pay my copywriting fees now. There's so much unrest and nervousness, right? This is turbulation. It's to be expected. But let me tell you another story that's very recent as last week. Someone in my mastermind was going to do her first live training, doing an event where she was going to teach something and sell her program at the end. And some of her good friends said, oh, no, this isn't a good time to do that. No one's going to pay that. No one's going to pay that high fee for that training that you have right now. You shouldn't do it. And let me just add that her training is about a product, a service that isn't to do with making money. It's not like a coaching program where you're going to, it's more frivolous, actually. It's more lighthearted. And so another thing people might say, well, no one's going to do that right now. But you know what? She didn't listen to the broke people. She didn't listen to the people that are putting those limitations on everything they do. She went ahead and she did her event. And you know what? She made almost $80,000. She'd never done that before. Like in one day, she made almost $80,000 selling her program to people who also believed that there was a reason to continue to move forward and to take advantage and to invest in themselves, take advantage of the opportunity to invest in themselves and move forward with what they wanted to do with their life. And here's the other thing. Broke people think like this. Well, I would never pay that for that. I would never do that right now. But then they think anyone's going to pay them. You cannot receive what you do not give. If you're not willing to trust yourself, to invest in yourself, why would anyone else do that? If you're not willing to trust yourself and believe in yourself enough to invest in yourself, why would anyone else do that? Why would they trust you? Why would they believe in you if you don't do it for yourself? And that's why the broke person mentality that we really need to be aware of is how we tell ourselves what's possible. That broke person could be real close to home. That broke person could be the person that's listening to family and friends who do not understand what you're doing as an entrepreneur and are putting their limitations, their ramifications, their judgments on what you are choosing to do. And listening to that's a virus. That's an insidious brain prison that you'll find yourself locked into if that's how you think about what's possible for you. Now, I work with a lot of freelance copywriters, right? I started as a freelance copywriter in 2004. I've been online for all this time, very, very successfully, made multiple six figures my first year, sailed right through the 2008, 2009 recession, making a lot of money. Let's just say it like it is, because I was focused on what was possible. I was focused on changing the unchangeable. I was focused on serving my clients. And this is where the value comes in. what you are doing for your clients. Let's talk specifically about freelance copywriting. When you write the copy for your clients that they can use literally for years to make thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of dollars, you are providing them with a valuable service, and they need that service now more than ever. Marketers and business owners need the copy of the words that promote their business, attract their ideal clients, teach them what they have, enlighten them about what's possible, and ultimately solve an issue for their clients, solve a problem for their clients. The clients may be, they have a coaching program, or they're selling something on e-commerce, or they're selling cars, or they're teaching people how to eat in a more nutritious way. It's just there's a myriad of things. It's unending, the possibilities of what you could be writing for as a freelance copywriter. Now, when I first started, I started with little small fees because I was just getting started. I was just learning how to write a sales letter, but I rapidly started increasing the fees till I got to maybe $1,500 to $3,000 for writing a sales letter, right? The sales letter, just that one piece. I wasn't writing the emails or all those things yet. And what I found was, okay, that seemed pretty good. That was really pretty good. But then I was just kind of staying there. And so then I wanted to be able to go to the next level. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go to $8,000 for a sales letter. And I literally had Post-it notes all around the mirror. And I actually recommend this. I would talk to myself in the mirror, look myself right in the eyes and say, my fees are $8,000. My sales letter is $8,000. I'm an $8,000 copywriter, this type of thing. And I began charging the $8,000. But then one day I was talking to one of my early mentors, John Carlton, and he said, Tina, the weird thing about copywriters when they first get started is they're so afraid to raise their fees, and they don't just go for it. They don't just say, this is what my fee is. Because he said, what I'd do, what I would do is just double it. You should just double it. You don't have to spend all this time telling yourself, I have to pay my dues. I have to take a long time. There's so many copywriters teaching copywriting right now that say things like, after a couple years, I finally got to 6 figures, and it's going to take time. But if you start with these little tiny fees, or you write for free, eventually you're going to get. No, that's not how this works. When you are writing for clients and you start hearing, I had success, this is amazing, you just did this, you're me only better, in these words, my program is selling, suddenly something's happening. When you start getting any kind of feedback like that, that should be a signal to you that you're moving next level with your fees, because you are getting results for your clients, because you're delivering the goods. Now, do you have to get good? Yes. And you're probably going to need some training. You may need a mentor. You may need to invest in yourself and trust yourself and value yourself enough to invest in yourself to work with someone who can show you how to get there faster. It's exactly what I did when I first started. It's exactly what I do now. It's exactly what I teach in the Cash Flow Copywriting Challenge, right? And so that's what you do so that you get better. So when John told me that, I was like, you know what? He's absolutely right. He also taught me, don't ever charge anything less than you'd be happy with if you never see another dime from that client. So, as far as all the things like back-end percentages and things that people talk about, just charge up front what is going to be a really great fee for you and give value to your client. So I did exactly what my mentor told me to do at the time, doubled my price from 8 to 16, $16,000 for a sales letter. Did anybody back down? Did I lose business? Did I go out of business? No, the exact opposite happened. My business went up. My business made more money. I worked with a different level of client who was ready and willing to be able to invest in themselves at that level. And I continued to invest in myself at that level and beyond, you see. So this is how this works. It's that if you're only dealing with clients that are just beginners themselves, and all you're hearing is, oh no, I couldn't pay that. Oh wow, that's too much. Guess what? You're talking to the wrong people. There are many, many people out there who have the money to invest in their business. They have the money to invest in you as a freelance copywriter. I happen to be right now in the mobile office. I've traveled to the San Francisco area over the weekend. And all the way here, what I was noticing is how many cars were zooming by me that had dealer plates on them. The paper ones flapping in the wind, looks like they're going to fly off any minute when they're going 75 miles an hour down the freeway. But there were so many. There were so many Teslas. There were so many really nice new model cars with dealer plates. What did that tell me? There's people out there with money. There's people out there that are still investing, still have purchasing power, still willing and able to do that. It's not like the whole entire planet is going to go to absolute dust and there's no one with any money to do anything. Money is energy. Money is a spiritual endeavor. It's a spiritual process. It's meant to be able to flow and to move. And it's meant for you, if you so choose, to work with a type of client that will appreciate what you do, what you have, how you do it, and what it will do for them. See, a big issue a lot of people have when they're marketing themselves or marketing their product is they kind of forget what we're really selling here is way more than the obvious. What we're selling is something more, the value of what that means in that person's life. So for you as a freelance copywriter, what it means for your client is increased revenue, is bigger reach, is more impact, is greater force of messaging that gets to the people that need it the most. These are the things you do for them as a freelance copywriter. That's why you don't want to be the short order copywriter. I'll take a sales letter, 7 emails to go, hold the fries. You need to understand the strategies well enough that you can advise and recommend and guide and even eventually get paid twice for what you do. But that's a lesson for another day that we'll be talking about. But you should be able to monetize your business and not stay stuck at little tiny low level fees that keep you grubbing along at the bottom of the barrel with people that are thinking like broke people. I'll give you one more example. These are people I know personally. I'm not telling stories of, oh yeah, well I heard this and somebody said this might have happened. I personally know 3 individuals in another aspect of my mastermind who are doing a live training in the last couple of weeks, and they decided they would join forces because they each brought something unique to the process, kind of like Procter Gamble, right? That they each had something special they brought to that process to reach a bigger audience. And they did a live training and they did $7 million in sales in just a day or two. Okay. $7 million right now, current times. And you know what they told me? They had set their intention at a certain level for the millions, right? That they thought that this is what we're going to manifest this. We're believing this together. We're putting our power and intention behind this, along with all the things they did, the strategies and their tactics, was the belief that this was entirely possible and was happening for them in the current time. And they said afterwards, we set it too low. We set it too low because they knew they could have gone beyond, but they reached the limit that they gave themselves, $7 million, pretty good limit, right? But they saw the opportunity could have been even greater. So when you're setting those intentions for yourself, don't forget to add this or something better, this or something greater, because divine source knows what is possible for you even more than we do. And so when you limit yourself, well, what if I could just make this much a year? Well, you may achieve this much a year and no more because you've set that already. Your brain's already saying, oh, there, we reached it. Boom, stop, right? Instead of this or something better, because sometimes when we're first getting started, especially, we find it difficult to truly envision exactly how far that can go. I certainly did that in my very first year when I went multiple 6 figures into the $500,000 range in my first year as a freelance copywriter. Nobody was more surprised than me at the time, right? But once I got that dialed in, that there are people there that will willingly pay this fee, and I'm giving them the value. And the more I wrote, the better I got. The more I wrote, the better I got, the better results I got from my clients. And it just continued to build. And I took advantage of learning from mentors, because the thing with mentors is, first of all, find a mentor that doesn't talk like a broke person, that doesn't live like a broke person, that understands the potential of what there is for you and how to get there because they have already done it. So look for a mentor who's achieving and has achieved and continues to achieve the very same thing that you choose to achieve in your life. Invest whatever it takes to work with them. Find a way, just like I did with Gary Bencivenga. My very first big investment was $5,000, which seems small now to me, but at the time it was like, wow, I don't have $5,000. So what did I do? I found a way. I decided not to think like a broke person. I made a decision to think expansively and choose a pathway that brought the funds in so I could pay the $5,000 and invest in myself. That $5,000 investment, I made sure that I got a return on my investment by doing the work and showing up. And that turned into $100,000 and beyond in that next year from that one event and the people I met there and the networking I did there. So don't think like a broke person. You're meant to have more. And if you have friends and family well-meaning who are going to say, oh my gosh, I would never be entrepreneurial right now, as if there's some great security They think that incremental raises over a long period of time are somehow going to bring wealth and security to you, that's their idea of financial security is, oh, I got a 1% raise. Oh, I got a 3% raise. And in 40 years, maybe I'll make the $1 million. You know, John Carlton, famous comedian from the past, he was really funny, pretty kind of profane, but also just brilliant. And one of his jokes that always made me laugh was that they had recently discovered that saliva caused cancer, but only when swallowed in small amounts over a long period of time, right? And it's kind of like that with how broke people think about money, that this little tiny amount, this little tiny amount, this little tiny amount over a long period of time is somehow more advantageous and more and safer than being entrepreneurial and saying, these are my fees. This is what I have to offer. I believe in myself enough to invest in myself and share that brilliance with my audience, whatever that may be for you. You have something special. You all do. Every single one of us has been gifted with our own uniqueness. And that's how you bring that forward. You talk in a way, you communicate in a way with your own messaging that attracts the people who are not thinking like broke people, who are understanding your message to the point where they wish and choose and desire to work with you and will take those next steps with you. And they're all around you. The opportunities are all around you right now, today. You can start thinking differently today. You can start speaking differently today. You can take a look at, what is the messaging? Am I allowing broke people, you know, the misery loves company, let's all commiserate about how hard it is. Oh my gosh, nothing's good's ever gonna, you know, that doesn't, you don't create something more from that kind of energy. You can't create something more expansive from limiting, tight, and downward energy. You have to be able to go there yourself. And the first person that needs to believe what's possible for you is you. Because if you don't, no one else will either. That's what I've got for you today. I hope it was helpful. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat here, and some people saying, hey, spot on. Yes, happy Tuesday. Good to see you all here. I'm live streaming into 3 different platforms at the same time. And you know that turbulation, like 20 minutes before I was going to start this call, everything went south on my system. It's the microphone said didn't have permission. The camera didn't have permission. These things have all been set up for weeks, right? But for some reason, about 15 minutes before I was going to go live, everything was going wonky on me. And so I just had to take a deep breath and say, this is turbulation. It's the pushback as I'm getting ready to do something that's going to help so many people. This is just how these things work. It's one of those principles that pops up on a regular basis. I can either fold up and say, oh, sorry, I had to cancel today, or I can believe I will achieve this and I will overcome this temporary disruption, which is exactly what we did. And now you're here, and so am I. So thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate you. I hope this was helpful to you, and that you start thinking like a person of abundance that can manifest money no matter what else is going on in the world. You find your pathway through it and know that what you have is meant to serve others. It's not because you just want it for yourself. It's because you want to support. You have that service heart to be able to support those that come to you that need copy. If you're a freelance copywriter, that you believe in yourself enough to put the fee level for a significant investment for those that invest in you, so that they take it seriously, they implement, and they're ready to move forward. And so are you. That it's a mutual kind of relationship. You're not getting hired by someone. You're not applying for a job. You choose as much as they choose whether or not you will work together, and you choose who you listen to, and you choose and make a decision not to listen to broke people when it comes to building your business and moving forward with your life. So that's it for now. Until next time, thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon.